Dark greetings, everyone. Welcome to some number of Roundtable in Tales from the Galaxies Opera House. This is the first one that we're recording, but probably the last that we'll be releasing. And tonight it is my pleasure to sit down with Nick Schuessler, who we've previously had on to discuss Boon to Eve, as well as Captain Henson, who is one of our writers who's been around for all three of the anthologies as well. So, would you two care to introduce yourselves and say briefly how you got into Star Wars?
Well, I kind of went through this previously, but in short, I'd say Scholastic Book Fair, flea markets, Legos, kind of the standard for a
Complete
Zoomer.
saga. Yeah. And Captain Henson?
So, put it simply, Star Wars has just always been in my life. My dad was a kid when the original trilogy came out, so that just carried over to me. Had some of the books that I would see on his shelf. Had I think it was for the 25th. I had the visual dictionary, the special edition that I would flip through all the time. Then, of course, had the
complete visual dictionary.
The visual
There's
guide.
a bunch of different versions.
This one?
No, it was the visual guide, the one with Vader on the cover, written by.
Now I'm trying to remember.
Oh,
wait.
I had. Where is that?
My brother has that one now.
The Vault.
Anyway, were you so you were in there pretty early? Were you watching the prequels as they came out?
So to show my age, I was born in late 2000. So I grew up. I have memory of only having the first 5 films.
Oh, so really?
I vaguely remember the build-up and hype for Revenge of the Sith. The ultimate visual guide. That's what it was.
Okay.
Ultimate visual guide. So anyway,
yeah.
So vague memories of Revenge of the Sith coming out and then being around like 7 to 8 when TCW came out. So Star Wars was just always a part of my life. Big fan of it. But my experience with the EU was limited to like the micro series, the ultimate visual guide.
Sure.
Some of the games, but it really wasn't until sometime after the Disney buyout and the sequel trilogy was coming out that I actively started diving more into it. So,
with books?
Fairly late into the game there. So now I have a massive collection. It's for those interested, you can go to my YouTube channel where I've done collection updates. But I'm starting to actually like dive into all of that. There is a lot, some of which is expensive, and I'm trying to get as much as I possibly can. Arm and a leg for some of them, I swear to God. But
yeah. So then you got into the books in the mid 2010s, and then was Tales your introduction to Re-Expanded? How exactly did you get recruited for that? I assume Nick knows part of this story.
Yeah. So spacing on when exactly it was, but I'm in the Supernatural Encounters Discord, and in my Discord profile, I have on there that I'm an amateur writer and voice actor, and so then we just DMs me this one time and says, "Oh, hey, working on this project. You're a writer.
Yeah.
Want to join?" Of course, it's like, yes, absolutely.
I'm glad you remember that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we owe a lot to the Supernatural Encounters community in terms of being a place to recruit people.
Mhm.
Because I was also, that was my first introduction to Reexpanded. I have to imagine that I would have eventually found the project otherwise, but it was Cryptics on there that recruited me, even though I'm like hardly ever active on it.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. I've only ever said a few things on the Supernatural
Yeah.
Encounters server, and I don't even remember what I've said.
Yeah.
I think it was that I really liked your profile picture.
Mm,
So that is why I clicked on it, and I saw in the bio that you said that you were an author.
yeah, so, I mean,
There
yeah,
you go.
totally worked out there. So, yeah, I mean, it's all thanks to me, discovering Supernatural Encounters and that whole endeavor. Me joining the server after that, and then boom, it pretty much the opportunity just fell into my lap.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Plenty of lore experts over there. I mean, that's where Brennan comes from as well.
yeah,
Marcel. Yeah.
wish I was a lore expert, but only a few things. But yeah, so once I'm told of this Tales of the Bunta Eve idea, I'm all in. And of course, that gives me a good excuse to, hyperfixate on a particular character, which turned out to be Mahonic.
Mhm.
Thankfully, he had enough material there to work off of, but small enough so that I could, do some of my own stuff.
Yeah.
One of my greatest, proudest moments was in that story. I had to come up with a new cantina for the story to take place in. And at the same time I'm writing that, I'm reading the episode 1 Adventures books. And in that series, in the Anakin Tatooine arc, the characters go into this cantina called the Racer's Edge Cantina, which is comprised mostly of racers who hate Sebulba for one reason or another. And the thing is, that cantina does not have a Wikipedia page. Like,
Wow.
might as well not even exist. So I just looked out there. And so one of my proudest moments is referencing an obscure piece of EU content that like most people would not even be aware of. Like
Yeah.
one of the rare times I can actually do that.
Yeah.
So,
I would say I myself skipped the episode 1 adventures to
Yeah, so did I.
trying to
yeah,
read through a lot of stuff.
yeah, I mean, not only, I mean, now they're on the Star Wars Timeline.net website, easily
Oh, they are.
downloadable.
Nice.
But like, I bought all those books physically, which
Gotta get your
pricey
money's
as all
worth.
hell.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine.
But
Those
well worth it. Well worth
Let
it.
me ask, do those have game sequences in them?
So the very first like the Star Wars missions books
Yeah,
are
that's
like
what I'm thinking.
narrative and RPG gameplay, but then the adventures for episode 1 and episode 2 split them up between a storybook and a game book.
Hmm.
So don't care about the game books at all, but
Yeah, no, it's kind of jarring to leave the story to roll a dice, and basically you have to just go to where you were anyway.
I'm sure I
Yeah.
would have loved it as a kid, but like
Yeah.
with the RPG material, I just don't care about playing.
Imagine they had made like an episode 3 adventures.
I'm honestly surprised they never did that.
It would have had to have been oddly gritty in
Yeah, I don't
comparison
know
to
if
the
the
other two.
tone would have fit well. What was the episode 2 adventures even centered around?
So the first, can't remember which one was first, but one arc was Obi-Wan and Anakin doing something, and then the second arc was Boba and Jango
Huh,
Mm.
doing something. I'm spacing on what. It's been a while since I read those books, but
yeah.
I do
Bosk.
recall Wikipedia saying that Boska's father, Kratos, is in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it
remember at
is.
some point somebody wanted to do something with Kratos that was impacted by the episode 2 adventures.
That's
Now
probably
that
what that was.
now that you mention it.
Yeah. No, it was that's one thing, a retcon that we can't blame on TCW is Bosk being much older than he originally was, because I think that started with episode 2 Adventures.
Adventures, really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know there was an earlier established age for Bosk.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be kind of like in his early 20s, or in the very least, I
Well,
think
and Trandoshan's
it's,
age
yeah.
weird too, where
Mhm.
aren't they like independent by age 8 or something?
Yeah, probably.
You can look it up in my species guide. Um, but anyway, hopefully folk getting a little bit focused after I look up Trandoshan aging. Oh, maybe I don't have it. Anyway, you can look it up on Wikipedia. Um, Getting a little bit into our primary focus here of Tales from the Galaxies Opera House, starting with Nick, I think, since you've got the most tales here to discuss. You had a fun one with Daniel Fatoni's tale, kind of following up on what you did for Outlander Club with him and Med back, and both those were written by you and Marcel.
I would say Marcel was more involved in the first one than myself. I think that there was probably some direction I led him in for that story, but yeah, I attribute most of the Outlander Club story to Marcel. Uh, I just really wanted to help him. Well, I mean, I basically, when I was advertising for Outlander Club, I told people, if you want Fatoni, you kind of need to sign up for both.
Yeah,
So,
even though they
Marcel
end
was
up
a
getting
good sport.
separated anyway.
Yeah. So he kind of has an arc across the stories, which, yeah, I I guess you could kind of point to a few short
Oh
stories
no.
in the original Tales collection that, just based on who's writing them, they connect to each other, but I don't think that there's anything that goes in such a sequence as this.
Yeah, I don't know. I I don't know if I could call Fatoni's thing an arc. Like he doesn't really seem like he learns anything.
No, definitely not. Um, I was brainstorming the entire thing with Marcel, and you see Fatoni, he's walking up the stairs, he's all by himself. Well, it's actually, um, Mortis had tried to explain that previously,
Oh,
and
by killing Medbeck, that was why she
yes,
did that?
I'm pretty sure. Well, I mean, she said that it would allow her to do so,
I
but
was so excited to not mention that and then be like, ha, we contradicted the TCW tie-in,
yeah.
EU only, Tales from the Outlander Club. Can't use TCW because its tie-in has Ahmed Beck hanging around
Mm,
after we kill him.
yeah,
But my plans got foiled by somebody,
I don't
maybe
blame
my
you if
own
I.
conscience. Maybe I was the one who pointed it out. I
You
don't remember.
definitely, I remember seeing a comment on this story, but I definitely mentioned it before that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was good. I think it turned out for the better though with having him be doing the radio stuff. Well, and just
Hmm.
everything he did.
Guy in the chair, yeah.
They're the dynamic with those two is just so good.
Hmm.
And I always I don't know. It's not a direction I would have anticipated for the character. I remember seeing Fatoni in I had these probably my favorite Star Wars books for most of my childhood were these head-to-head books. I don't
Yes.
know you have those.
Oh,
Yes.
yes, yes, I had
I
both of them.
loved those things as a kid. I made my own. I have those were my first like fanfics. I would
Mhm.
spend so much time like writing up like different matchups and I would color the characters and stuff.
Yeah.
Those are buried somewhere. No, but I just remember seeing Fatoni in head-to-head tag teams and thinking like, wow, he looks so like dignified and serious and like really pulls off this fake cop thing. Like, wow, what a
Hmm.
devious dude. Like he must be so smart and he just I would never have anticipated him to be just such a goofball
Yeah.
and uh doesn't doesn't really seem to learn much or have any sense of awareness for what's going on ever. How did how did you manage that in terms of the more fun side of Star Wars? Because it's something that I think a lot of our stories don't have when you compare it
Mm.
to the movies is the jokes, is the stuff you laugh at. Um, and I guess some of the official authors were kind of the same way. I remember Alston had his moments
Mm.
um, with comedy, but how do you how did you go about getting the humor right and making it feel like Star Wars?
It's I think it's just the way I've lived my life, uh, throwing things at the wall and seeing what stuck. Um, it dawned upon me that a very close comparison I could make to Fatoni would be Marv from Home Alone.
Sure.
I don't know if Med Beck
Yeah.
is really a Harry, but there is something very Wet Bandits about those two.
Yeah.
And I just love bickering. I I just I don't know. I guess I've intaken a lot of media where you've just got two guys that are constantly uh, insulting each other while they're trying to collaborate on something. So
Yeah.
it came naturally to me. I mean, the first thing I wrote was that the scene where Med Beck he's looking on the Holonet Wikipedia, and he's saying we have no evidence that this guy is related to Teta, and
Oh, I love that line so much. That just the one that I think you're about to mention
yeah.
where
Oh,
where he says,
you tell me who your
"Of
great
course."
great granddaddy
Oh no.
is. What?
Oh no, for some reason the line where immediately after the like the first thing Fatoni says of course he's Tedda. His name's Bloody Tedda and he's the Duke. That one for some reason that line just stuck with me so
Yeah,
much and like I'll just be at work and just like think of that randomly and just like little laugh to myself.
yeah. No, it's the whole thing is it just poured out of me, and so really we based the entire story around that interaction,
Hmm.
trying to figure out how they got there.
How he had to tell him the tragedy of Darth Icky the Wise? Was
Yeah.
that pretty early on then?
That came to me during the sequence. I
Oh,
think
really?
so. Basically, Marcel would write something, and then I would kind of read it through, and then I would write something onto the end of it.
Hmm.
And at some point, I said to myself, they need something to distract these two guys. And you look at the core of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise, and it leans into so much of Tedda's character and what he's really,
Yeah.
what his
He'd
you know,
absolutely
his
turn to the dark
motivations
side
are.
if Palpatine told him the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Yeah.
Heck, he'd probably try to get a metachlorian transplant.
Hmm. I'll tell you, one of my favorite lines, which Marcel had written, was uh, Led Daragon yanks no man's spoons.
My other favorite line was when the somebody calls Medbeck like a third-rate criminal, and Phaetoni, who's been just like they've been bickering all the time, but
Yeah.
Phaetoni's like, no, that's not okay. Only I get to insult him. Where because he says like, oh, Medbeck is at least a second-rate criminal.
I'm trying to remember
Or
that.
maybe they call him a fourth-rate criminal, and then
Yeah.
Phaetoni's like, well, he's at least a third-rate criminal, maybe second, depending on what system of measurement you're using. And then you throw in the joke about parsecs,
Yeah.
about
Hold on a
measuring things,
parsec.
about hopefully we're not measuring in parsecs because Star Wars doesn't know how to use those sometimes.
Yeah. So
Yep,
naturally, the characters don't know either.
they don't.
I liked it was so on the nose. I even confused the editors.
About what?
Well, Mortis commented on it and said, "This is just, Phaetoni being a doofus, right?" Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then it involves a lot with Tedda, well, especially Tedda, but also Daragon, and then I guess kind of never fully goes to fruition to impact their stories. Um, so you had a lot to work through with those other authors.
Yes. uh, I'd say most of our story. I think we finished first.
Okay,
So,
so
and
they were
that
kind of
that
building
was
around it.
to our advantage because, yeah, as I'm reviewing the other stories, I'm basically telling Brennan and Cryptics um, that these certain things need to be changed. And it's always the small things. I mean,
Yeah.
we do a good job of intersecting in the plot lines, but the second you see the random guards, which was the probably the thing I was most concerned about when I saw all of these characters that Brennan had introduced, that I would
Brennan
need to
introducing characters? No.
I would need to work around all of them. So basically I added in characters to my story whose main purpose in the heist is to distract Brennan's secondary characters.
Get them out of the way. And then finally, a character that seems to just keep showing up that I don't think I've ever looked up, but I probably should have, is can you please explain who is this Yer to Og that shows up in like all of your stories? Like why is he so important? Where did he come from? What is his deal? And and why do I keep seeing him?
Okay. So Yurtog is in a single book of Jedi Apprentice where he uh, is basically interfering in Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan's investigation of a murder because he like doesn't trust Jedi and he's very by the book. He's a
Hmm.
Coruscant security force lieutenant, or maybe he was a captain.
I
I
think
think
he
he
gets
was a captain.
promoted.
Yeah. So I regret doing that in the first place. So basically, I demoted him, at least in my head canon.
Okay.
Oh, actually, the other thing that must be stated is I had a note sheet of characters that don't appear after a certain time, and they're like
Ooh,
they have pure openings to come back at any given point.
sure.
So your Tog he was probably at the top of this list. So you
Hmm.
might recall when Saboba is coming to Coruscant,
Yep.
he talks to an air traffic controller, which was
Just
me
naturally.
basically saying your Tog was demoted because he wouldn't work with the Jedi and he was wrong because of it. So then we skip forward, and I'm writing Elend Sleaze-Bagano's tale, and I need
There he
a
is.
Coruscant Security Force character. And your Tog is a Bothan. He's a little rough around the edges. I can't imagine he doesn't resent the Jedi, but not
Sure.
for any big philosophical reasons. Just because he's the kind of guy that does his job, and I don't know, maybe he's got an ego too.
Sure.
So the culmination of all of this is that your Tog is pulling the strings of this entire heist. He's a little
Yeah.
dirty. I think that's part of it.
Yeah, I
He's
mean, it
willing
wouldn't
to, do this kind of thing.
wouldn't be a Bothan if you weren't a little dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we should probably maybe incorporate our other member here,
Yes.
Captain Henson, who's been waiting diligently. Did you read Phaetoni's tale?
So unfortunately, I haven't looked at anyone's tales yet. Waiting for the eventual physical
Oh, okay.
release.
Hmm.
I can read online stuff, but I just vastly prefer reading physical
Mhm.
book. So.
Yeah. Well, us editors have to read all the tales online multiple
Yeah.
times sometimes. Um, I'm kind of the same way though, of where I mean, because I use online, I do so much on screens where if there's something that I can have the choice of doing paper rather than a screen, I'll take it. Yeah. But anyway, so the one that you definitely have a significant familiarity with is Grietta's tale. Um, so that one follows once again your OC of Cathar Fell, getting in the mix with our favorite Rhodian musician.
Yeah. So, admittedly, out of the three anthologies I've done, this one was the hardest for me to figure out.
Mhm.
Whereas
Hmm.
before, things seemingly fell into place. With this one, I struggled, and I'll admit, I think this is my weakest story.
Hmm.
So maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. But like, I feel like I just had a lot of trouble figuring out this one. I like what I have,
Yeah.
but I do think it is the weakest. But
Hmm.
Did you
You
think?
is it just the
Sorry.
point of running out of things to do with Cathar?
so no, for me it was pretty much everything regarding Grietta, where again stuff on her Wikipedia page, but like I had to figure out just what to do with her because naturally I wanted to involve Cathar, but it was a matter of how? One of my first thoughts was, oh, Grieta wants to write a song about her. Okay,
Yep.
now what?
Yeah, that was going to be the focus of the story originally, and then that did kind of come into play, but more
Yes.
as a little end scene.
So, yeah, this story definitely went through a lot of changes. And
Yep.
at some point, I got into talking with Ben, animator Ben, writing about well, he was gonna have a lot of focus on Ristal Saint or Sant.
Yeah.
And so, okay, we can connect Ristal and Grieta, and then our two stories were supposed to be like intertwined. Like, couldn't necessarily read one without the other, but then his story just ballooned in length.
Yes.
Like,
And it ballooned. Well, it was kind of what was supposed to be just the first part of the story that ballooned, I believe, right? He was supposed to have a lot more. I'm mirrored, so the gestures are all backwards, right? He was supposed to have a lot of stuff that was taking place like after what he had wrote originally.
yes. So in my story, I have it end with Grieta asking Cathar to please rescue Ristal from Shizor, and that was supposed to lead into his story, in which we would have seen Cathar tracking Shizor, spying on him, and like there would have been a cool fight scene between her and Guri, and then eventually, I think it was like in the EU, Landa was the one who wins her in a sabacc game, and we would have seen that in his story. We would have gotten some bit of closure between Cathar and her, but oh no. Shadows of the Empire then happens. Cathar doesn't get to kill Shizor. And then at some point, my idea was for her to track down Guri, who at this point would have had her memory wiped after Shadows of the Empire Evolution with Dash Rendar. So Cathar tracks her down somehow, but then it's like, oh, you don't remember anything? Okay, well, I can't fight you at this point. So this hunt was just an basically complete waste of time. Like several years dedicated to that, just down the drain. Now, I don't know what Ben plans on doing with like that material.
I think that will have a home one day.
Well, because Ben's involved with that Tales from the Max Rebo band, isn't he?
Involved is putting it lightly. Ben is Tales from the
he
musicians.
Is. Okay.
Yeah, he brought that up.
Well, he got one guy to write Droopy McCool, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that one will ever get off the ground. No.
Yeah, so
no offense, Ben, if you're watching, but
so that does leave my story in a weird position, because me and Ben had a back and forth to make sure our two stories like fit. But like now, my story is setting up a part of a story that doesn't exist anymore. Sure. Now, like, it still works. Now it's just a matter of, okay, well, at some point you may see that story. I mean, in the EU, Ristal is freed from Shizor. But now it's just a matter of, well, how the hell does Cathar play a role in that, if at all? So, like, if Ben doesn't do anything with that, like,
you will.
I may have to do something there, which, like, fair enough. So, yeah. Yeah, but, thankfully with Ben's help and collaboration, I was able to eventually figure it out. Just had to change around a few things. Like, I believe originally I was going to actually, like, show Cathar hunting Schuessler. Like that was going to be my thing until eventually I changed that. A lot of stuff happened that lose track of everything.
I
But
feel
eventually,
like
figured it out.
I feel like I always end up doing interviews about the stories that changed the most. Or at least the ones that I've seen change the most. Because I'm sure there's a lot of authors that are kind of changing stuff around in their own heads, but so many people are, shall we say, more reclusive, where as an editor, I don't necessarily get to see all those, or you don't hear about these plans in the Discord, or you don't see, these different early drafts and summaries and stuff. It's just eventually they send you a first draft that is basically the same as the final story minus some, grammar problems that or with some grammar problems that get resolved. And it seems like every time, like, I've just picked the perfect set of authors that have these most winding explanations of how they ended up where they did. Your other two stories were, I think, a little bit more streamlined, right?
Yeah, so Mahonic's tale from Boon to Eve, I basically had figured out. Some things did change, but like I pretty much always knew I wanted it to be about him setting up the bounties we see in Bounty Hunter. Like
Yeah.
I played the game, but I completely missed that because I skipped the bounties. Like
Yeah.
doing those in the game suck.
Oh, I gotta finish
Yeah.
my playthrough of Bounty Hunter. I
So
spent
going
$20 on that.
mm, so going through his Wikipedia page, I see that detail, and it's like, oh, like that's the story. And so then, oh, okay, this is how I can include my OC.
Mhm.
So
Hmm.
once that had figured out, boom.
Yeah,
Again, something's changed. I originally wanted to include Django Fett in like a he goes to Mahonic to collect the bounty, and then Cathar would have been there. But then it's like,
sure.
okay, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Renkor's tale from Outlander Club, me and Cryptics figure that out really quickly. Like we were on the same page, and we were just okay. Both are Mandalorian OCs. Go after this guy. Boom. And then I
Yeah.
get to this one, and it's like, okay, Grieta, she's a dancer, she's a singer.
And a and an instrumentalist.
Yes, and she
Very.
was
But
at
now
the
she's a
Galaxies
killer.
Opera House. What do I do here?
Yeah.
And then, of course, trying to incorporate my OC. And so, yeah, like this third anthology story gave me the most trouble. And like, there were times where I was worried I just would not figure it out.
Right.
But I did.
So where did this Cathar obsession come from? Was she a character that you had around before Boon to Eve that you brought in?
So she's a character who existed prior, albeit I never did anything publicly with her.
Okay.
Originally, I saw this fan art of a female Mandalorian, and I just really liked the design. So then I commissioned an artist to draw a Mandalorian based off of this character. Oh, but add Predator wrist blades to the sides because a Mandalorian with Predator wrist blades, coolest thing ever. And also barefoot because I like that. So I have this character and no real personality or anything, but I have her. And then this opportunity presents itself, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I can actually do something here. And it would actually be like a lot more meaningful and impactful than just uploading an image or her portrait to DeviantArt. because this being a whole group community effort in terms of continuing the expanded universe, my character will actually be a part of this like thing.
Mm-hmm.
There you
So
go.
that's great. And then I asked my girlfriend Torafel, who's an artist, to redraw the portrait, and then that's where I add in the various burn scars and stuff. And one of the interesting elements here is, so my knowledge of Mandalorians, very limited. Like Bounty Hunter, Jango Fett Open Seasons, TCW, that's pretty much it. I
Yeah.
started reading the Republic Commando books, but again, at the time, that was it. So I decided to incorporate that into the character. So a crutch there, but okay, so this character, she is a Mandalorian, but she's distanced herself from there due to a multitude of factors, but also serve as a justification for her unorthodox way of doing
She's
it.
very agnostic as far as Mandalorians go. As definitely, I mean, you don't see a lot of that. Maybe Boba Fett.
I mean, certainly one of my with Boba Fett,
all of TCW Mandalorians.
like, there's this interesting thing with Boba Fett where back when I was into the new canon, and we had this idea that Jango Fett and Boba Fett aren't real Mandalorians. I like the idea of like having Boba Fett interacting with a Mandalorian and him basically being like, yeah, I don't give a shit about your culture, so like whatever.
Mm.
And so I decided to incorporate that into Cathar, where like on the one hand she is prideful, she does acknowledge the importance of being a Mandalorian, but at the same time, just due to her own experiences,
she has more pride in herself than in her people.
Yeah, she can't particularly stand other Mandalorians, and of course that's explored in the Outlander Club story. And I owe Cryptics a lot. Like back in the Boot to Eve anthology, he brought up the idea of the was it the Kol Devtar? No.
Kolverdar.
Kolverdar.
Or whatever. I don't know how it's pronounced.
Yeah, so again, knew nothing about that, but then he presents me this idea of, Jango Fett like brought in a bunch of Mandos to help train the clones on Kamino. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, and then add that to her backstory of, she actually like knew Jango Fett during the Mandalorian Civil War, and so at some point after the events of after she goes on the hunt to kill off some of Sebulba's relatives, she interacts with Jango, who's like, oh, here, join this. And then, of course, we see Cathar show up in the Cryptics story at the end. And this was all to basically set up the Outlander Club story.
Yeah, I think the Outlander Club one definitely was the most nuanced in terms of her character, where I think it added a lot, versus her other two, where she's you sort of see her just as this infinitely powerful fighter who can just kind of do whatever she wants in every fight she appears in, and never really is challenged by anybody in any way. And it's cool it was cool to see her in Outlander, where some of her flaws are more apparent, I think.
Yeah, so certainly a major aspect of that character is that she is basically a predator in the Star Wars universe. So, she is very physically strong. And I reveal in the third story that she's like 8 feet tall, which like
she was
maybe I
always
didn't
tall.
need to do, but like I had to,
Bigger Cathar.
Well,
She got
she's
it's like
taller.
slightly
still
taller than the average Wookiee.
she's still about the same size as Elias Halbert.
Mm,
The That was something random anecdote that just caught me so off guard where he's this like random like human Corellian smuggler. You read his bio and there's like nothing like crazy about him. Like he's just like a normal dude who's a smuggler, another one of those guys. And then he shows up in Outlander Club, he's referenced, and somebody put in there of he's 2.5 meters tall. And I was just like, what the heck are we doing here? And then I looked on his Wikipedia page on the bio, it said that. And I'm just like, it's just so out of left field. It's not mentioned. Like, you'd think there'd be like, his, like, what is it? Like, first thing they'd say about him is, like, in the bio would be, Elias Talbert was a genetically modified, unusually tall human being. No, he's just like, yeah, I'm just like
He's the
casually two and a
exception to
half
the rule.
meters.
yeah, so
And that's Cathar.
yeah, Cathar. I mean, again, Mahonic was the main character of that first story, so Cathar. You learn a bit about her, but she's a side character there. And then, of course, Outlander Club gave me an opportunity to really dive in to her, see her insecurities and all the shit that goes on in her head.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to the third story, and she's not even a side character at that point. And that's what I was trying to get towards. Like the first story, you learn a bit about her, but not too much. The second story is partially about her relationship with the other Mandalorians, and just growing past the trauma. And then the third story, at that point, again, she's not a main character. As much as I love her for being my character and all, I wanted to set her up so that she is best suited as just this I don't want to necessarily say neutral force, but
She's
chaotically
more a
neutral
force of nature.
Yeah, where
Like it's almost like a hurricane. Like
yeah.
you can't write the perspective of a hurricane. You can't really stop it. You can only write about the people dealing with the effects of the hurricane.
So
And that's why I don't write Gascano.
So, that's what I wanted to do. Set her up so that she can just be that force. And regardless of where she is in the timeline, that's what she is. It's just that, by the time you reach the Grieta story, she started to build her own group. And then ideally, by the Legacy era, I would want her group to be maybe not the biggest faction, obviously, but there are enough of her followers running about to be known, where you do have people just running around with fucking predator wrist blades hunting, and they're just this chaotically neutral force that just causes problems. So that's what Cathar is meant to be. She's a predator. She'll show up, she's a major threat, but really it's about what other characters think of her, this giant beast just wrecking havoc, and oh, what does that mean for us as the main characters?
Well, I will, if we write, if Tales from Legacy ends up happening, then I will be fully prepared for that.
Yeah.
And I won't be surprised if you've got her still alive in 45 ABY or whatever.
Yeah, that's certainly the question. When do I kill off this character? Because I don't want to fall under the OT trio trap of just having them just
the Dave Filoni trap.
And the Ahsoka thing too, but just having characters well, maybe not being alive, but just constantly going on adventures well past in my opinion, they're due dates.
They're not alive, but they're going on adventure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, if I read about like 80-year-old Cathar killing somebody with her feet, I'm gonna veto it.
yeah, I mean, of course, the thought had occurred to me of like, oh yeah, like this like 100-year-old Cathar just like still doing stuff, but like, yeah, no, probably not.
I mean,
So,
it could actually be kind of funny to see a Cathar without her usual abilities. Like I could see her being really in denial, like of a, maybe not 100-year-old, but like even like a 70-year-old that just like is a physically a shell of her former self.
It's an old
And
man Logan situation.
like she wants to fight the way she used to, but she just can't. And she just keeps getting herself into trouble because she's like having a hard time with either retiring or needs to rely more on technology. That could be an interesting direction for the character.
yeah. So, at the
But
very least, I had wanted to set up her, her group in this third story. So that way, at some point in the timeline, won't be able to be used anymore. But some of the aesthetic choices, as well as just this particular like mindset, can still exist, like as far like into the legacy era.
Mm.
But like, of course, the problem, or maybe not a problem, but one of my main hangups in regards to writing for a pre-established universe like Star Wars is obviously I have my own ideas of what I would like to do, but I also have to make sure things fit. I can't just introduce this like large element, this really important element that's just never acknowledged elsewhere. Like, let's say, for example, a character who never had a Padawan suddenly gets a Padawan, but like that's never been acknowledged before. So now you have to kind of like have that make sense, just thinking off the cuff there. But
yeah,
like, I can't just introduce like this whole faction of Predator Mandalorians and like, why the hell have they never been mentioned before? So like, Cathar
yeah.
was just a one-off because like, okay, one character that can fit. Of course, this one character wouldn't be acknowledged in a lot of places.
I could
So
see them
that's
having
why.
some influence over the Mandos who show up in Fate of the Jedi.
If
I
only
don't,
I'd read Fate of the Jedi.
I don't know if you're familiar with that series, but that's the legacy books after Karen Travis uh, is no longer part of it, and you can see kind of a 180 shift of like Mandos going from these like super powerful, super awesome, do no wrong group of mercenaries to like more evil in Fate of the Jedi. Like there's a scene where Dala hires Mandalorians to barricade the Jedi Temple until the Jedi do what she's like passed some law or something that she wants them to abide by, and the Mando's like, well, the next Jedi that comes out of the temple, if they don't do if they haven't abided to Dala's demands, next Jedi to come out of the temple is getting killed. And then the Jedi are like, well, we can't do what Dala wants, but we got to negotiate with these guys. But if I go out there to negotiate, they'll just kill me. That's what he said. So he's like, well, let's send a little kid to tell them a message that we want to negotiate. And then he just kills the kid. And it's like, dang, that was dark. Like that feels like something a Cathar disciple would do.
Yeah, that was Cathar, actually.
No, he had a name. I can't remember what it was.
Probably, yeah.
It's maybe Cathar's son or something.
Yeah, I mean, certainly an element I wanted to point out in the Outlander Club story is okay, so Mandalorians are like honor bound, supposedly honor bound. They got this code, but then like most of them are bounty hunters. So like, I don't know, like, yeah, there's still honor. Like, you can still uphold your honor there, but you're also doing shit for money.
Yeah.
So like, so then it's like, oh, Cathar here, like, she doesn't do shit for money. She just does it because she wants to.
Yeah.
Of course, also pointing out that she is like really, really lonely. And like,
Yeah.
that's also a major element there. Like, she's super strong and all that, but she does also have a lot of insecurities. So, and plus, nobody really, or she isn't liked by a lot of people.
Yeah.
Of course, then I have to reconcile the fact that, okay, she's a murderer, cold-blooded murderer, and she has like no qualms of who she kills, and then like, oh, she's just friends with some people.
Yeah.
Of course,
We're chosen.
Of course, that's an element of the Outlander Club story of, a Cryptic's character,
Alden Getrick.
Oh, yep.
Getrick. That's it. So like, he has to, so like, he hates her because who wouldn't? She's a terrible fucking person, all things considered. So I'm like, okay, eventually he has to learn that people like her have a place in the galaxy who are unleashed. They will just do shit that no one else will do. It's not always great, but like, she is willing to push the line. And sometimes you just need that in some cases.
Yeah. So anyway, going back to something you said earlier about Cathar being barely a side character, I think there was another character in your story. You had this Griata girl that we've hardly talked about. I think one of the things there that stood out to me is the Rhodians really just can't shake those stereotypes. Like,
Yes.
I thought we were gonna have a musician here, but they're just they got it in their blood or something, it seems like.
Yeah, I have to remind myself because,
I mean, she doesn't become a bounty hunter,
like,
at least
there
in
are sources in which she does have like combat training. Like, she can fight physically, and I think it may have been like a Star Wars.com databank entry where like, when her and the Max Rebo band leave Jabba's palace after he dies, she helps defend the band from like Tuskens. So there was a precedent there, although I think I added the bit with her father forcing her to like
yeah.
train. But
Max
okay, so
Rebo
like,
was
there was a
actually
precedent.
speciesist.
It
He
made
just
it
she
made
got
sense.
typecast into protecting the band.
You just assume because I'm a Rhodian, I know how to fight, don't you?
Yeah, so then it just made sense to have that be a part of the character where she has this artistic mindset, very creative person. That's all she can think about. And of course, me adding my own experience as a writer, storyteller, but still, like, where you just have all these ideas floating in your head, and sometimes you're just by yourself or even waiting in line, whatever, and you just can't help but think of the ideas in your head. And so, okay, that's a part of her where she just has this, maybe not ability, but she gets an idea and then she'll just hyper fixate on that until she's like figured out how to make that into a song. And then, of course, me playing with her being forced into a predicament where she has to go against her sensibilities, where she's kidnapped and now she has to survive. She has to fight to survive. So she has to kill one or two people there.
And she figures it out pretty quick.
Yes, going back to the training she received back on Rhodia. And of course, again, just dealing with that. She never wanted to experience killing, but he or she
Yeah.
has no choice.
Yeah, she really doesn't. It was an interesting situation to put her in. But then she kind of maybe embraces it a little at the end where she does where when she talks to Kappa, right? She asks for some little bit of training and pointers.
Yeah, I figured it just made sense in the situation to, okay, I can defend myself. I do have some combat skills, but like, there's more I can learn. So please teach me so that way a situation like that ideally can never happen again.
Sure.
Um,
So anyway,
yeah,
maybe head back to Nick for the Papanoidas. Um, our uh probably of all the tales, um, Baron Papanoida maybe felt the most uh like it got the feel of the Galaxy's Opera House, or maybe that one and Onara Kuat, where there wasn't really any direct violence. It was all very refined, very gentlemanly, um, very kind of posh all the way through. Um, maybe a different sort of style than what's always natural for for Star Wars, where obviously wars are in the title.
Yeah, I have trouble reading action sequences. So I guess I also have trouble writing them. So I just feel very comfortable creating scenes where characters are talking to each other, and that
Mm.
obviously is where most of the story takes us. And it helped. I'm dealing with the fallout of some awful situations.
Most of which you created.
Yeah, I will say I was the one that wrote General Grievous um, tearing Ryo Chuchi and uh, Chi Ekwe to pieces, which was supposed to be a lot more violent initially because it was going to be Ion, the brother of the Papanoidas.
Okay.
Yeah, but he needed to be out of the picture a little bit earlier on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then yeah, you got your Langston Hughes in there.
I wish
Um,
it was deeper than it actually is.
yeah.
I don't know. I just think of that. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Uh, I don't know. I just remember it.
Yeah.
So in this monologue of this, you know, father feeling very uh, by himself with the death of his entire family over the course of this war, it just seemed like a very natural line.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, he's and but even throughout you just kind of feel like he's a very well read and
Mm,
educated guy with just how he talks and some of the other. I think you make reference to some in-universe stories and whatnot, where you can tell Papanoida he definitely gives that playwright sort of vibe,
mm.
and I guess that's fitting for him being played by Lucas, of course.
Yeah, there's definitely something we're playing with there. I don't know if it really culminated the way that we were hoping, but when we're writing this, we knew we were writing about George, and we were doing our best to kind of uh, mirror him, to
Yeah.
rhyme him
It's like
in a way.
poetry. But you're also our George Lucas.
I will accept it.
So
So
did it
naturally,
ever
I needed.
ever feel a little autobiographical?
No,
Okay.
it sort of just came naturally to me, because I'd given myself so many of the big headliner characters. Because of
Yep.
course I'm the first guy who sees the sheet. I must have first dibs to whoever's on the sheet.
Yep. That's the joys of being in charge.
Mm.
I thought it was interesting too with that, where you have this balance of sort of tragedy and optimism, where it very much fits with even the feel of Revenge of the Sith as a whole, where you have this very big evil that's really hard to ignore. But at the same time, the characters kind of end in this note of peace and hope, where Baron, he he seems to get himself. I don't know. Would you call it a happy ending?
He's certainly satisfied. I think it's probably the best a guy like him could uh, aspire to, considering the situation. I think he definitely gets himself out of uh, the greater situation that he was in.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's probably why it's uh, positive in that way.
sure. Yeah, in maybe in another world, it could have been like a good finale for the book, but obviously, well, for one, you've got Leia,
Mm.
um, and then of course, second thing that sort of happened was we switched the order on you, and
Yeah,
made it go before Chi Ikwe, little reverse chronological order trick.
yeah, and I mean, the second you said it, it made perfect sense. We, I don't think we really had to do much to it either. I think we took out a scene.
I
I
think I
edited
think the
what they said.
Yep. Well, I think the big one um was removing Shira's last name. Um, I think helped a little bit.
Hmm.
I completely forgot when because like I was there, I was reading all these Discord messages, and I completely forgot uh that Indy had even said she was gonna write the backstory for Shira Bree. And like I had read, like I was reading that tale, and it was literally not until the doctor said like, oh, or the who was it, like Chi Ikwe's assistant or somebody, like,
No, that was Doctor Ting.
yeah. Anyway, it was not until Dr. Ting said, like, we did the blood test, we found out she's related to such and such, she's Shira Bree, that my jaw just dropped, and I'm like, oh shoot. And I read the whole summary like 3 months prior.
That's great because Indy had said for such a long time that that's exactly what was the intention.
Yes. Yeah, I love it where it's like, and there's a lot of first names out there. People have the same name all the time, right?
Yeah.
And in in real life, I
Yeah.
don't
We try to
I,
avoid it in Star Wars just because because the
I
second
don't.
you hear two guys with the same name, you connect them together.
I've maybe got a little bit of George R.R. Martin in me where I'm
Yeah.
like, let's see if we can reuse some names here. That shows up a little bit in uh, the my holiday special tale where it's not any well, even throughout, I guess there's a lot of times I do that with, but just like random names that aren't related where
Hmm.
of course people want to be related. I'm sure some reader's going to be like, "Oh, is that Flint Torrell's brother or something?" No. But I did like with especially the holiday special one, made sure to look up some Duros and just like steal their names.
Hmm.
I always and of course the who can forget Cthulhu's just constant uh uses of jacks and
Oh
pavans.
yes. That it it was great. To talk about that briefly. There was this wiki called Darthopedia, which was like a humor wiki,
Yes.
and you'd see
I
all of
feel like
these
I've
Star
heard this
Wars.
before.
Yeah, there's like all these Star Wars articles. Um,
I have no idea
I mean
who
that's the
told me
entirety
this.
of what it
Was it
was, but
you?
yeah, Cthulhu and I talked about this once because that's what I think of when I see all of these Jax Pavans when it's not the Jax Pavan. Um, so I'd shared this and she was like, "Yeah, that's exactly why I do it."
Yeah, well, what is it?
Because
It's like
yeah,
it's
there's
like a list of all these other like characters they made up that are also named Jax Pavan or something.
yeah, I think that the backstory on that is Jax Pavan is able to hide because his name is basically John Smith.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and of course it really goes back to the fact that Obi-Wan never changes his last name.
Mhm.
Yeah, in A New Hope, where I think Michael Reeves was like irked about all the people who complained about that and was like, there's there's a lot of names out, there's a lot of people out there. You
Mhm.
shouldn't immediately assume that every Kenobi is Obi-Wan. So he included that little bit of he made a ridiculous number though, where like I calculated like what percent of Coruscant's population is named Jax Pavan, because he said like it was like 1 million Jax Pavans on Coruscant, and the numbers just don't add up. Um, it's got to be a way more popular name than John
Yeah.
Smith was my conclusion, but it's entirely possible that that one Jax Pavan made an error.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
but yeah, I
mhm.
don't think, how did this even come up? Oh, we're talking about Shira. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe now I gotta include another Shira who's just some random lady.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait for that. I I think we should talk about the amount of collaboration that went
Yes.
into the stories that we had worked on throughout these collections. I mean, I think Cryptics was really the trailblazer of uh, writing a tale where that character was not the POV character,
Yeah.
mostly because he really wanted to write a Mandalorian character.
Technically Nevaki.
Yes,
Um,
yes. And that was the
and
first story written.
dang, yeah, that was early. That was
Yeah.
before I was even like officially an editor.
Hmm.
I think Nevaki's Tale might be the only story ever to appear in any of these anthologies that I did not contribute a single change to.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Wow. Yeah.
Gavin just has very clean writing.
Mhm. As should be expected. but
Yes.
the Mandalorians coming together, that culmination of these two short stories, I must say, still very proud of
Yeah.
the trajectory that we created through these 3 anthologies.
Oh. Okay, Brennan just messaged. Thank you so much. I was fully planning to join. So we might. Yes, but
Oh,
anyway, you've got you've done some of the most collaboration of basically all your stories are uh um written with
co-authored.
somebody because you've got Marcel on one side and you've got Indy on the other.
Yeah.
Um,
Reason behind this being I'm very burnt out. And I knew that if someone else wrote with me, it would definitely get finished.
sure. Yeah. Was that kind of the feel that you got Henson writing with cryptics? Did he does that have a little bit of a motivating aspect?
I mean, probably would have helped with my Grieta story, but I mean, like I
Well,
said before,
you kind of had been.
with the Renquar story, him and I were on the same page, so I suppose both of us co-authoring that certainly helped.
Mm-hmm.
With both of us constantly writing, it's like, okay, yeah, no, I really gotta like just write.
Keep
He's
up.
writing, I gotta do it too. And it
Yeah.
certainly led to me like really like focusing on making sure the quality itself was as good as possible because this isn't just an editor down the line who's going to be
Yeah,
looking at this. I'm like constantly writing with this guy who's going to be seeing what I write. So
yeah,
it definitely made me a bit more self-conscious
sure.
about
And
my.
you were you going kind of back and forth by sections? Like, did you kind of plan that out of like who's chiefly responsible for each part, or was that just kind of winging it? Were you doing a lot of back and forth where you were editing his stuff and he was editing yours, or was it mostly just kind of taking turns and then once one person's done with it, it's good to go?
So, I mean, to start off, whenever the story focused entirely on Cathar or Getrick, obviously I would take Cathar. He would take Getrick.
Sure.
But in terms of the sequences where both the characters are present, then it was either one of us. But, obviously, if he wrote with Cathar, I would look over the dialogue, make sure it fit the character, and vice versa. I wrote the opening section with Renquar and just making him an irredeemable piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
And
crazy.
yeah, I mean, I was proud of that because, I'm the type of guy who likes to really push that. But, and the chase scene with Cathar and Renquar was also me. But yeah, I mean, it was a back and forth. There were some sections cryptics did, some sections I did. But, constantly I would go through, I can't speak for cryptics, but like I would go through and, make sure things all fit together. But yeah, and then of course having people look over the story and me needing to tone down
Yeah.
Cathar quite a bit because
At times.
originally like I had her be a lot more brutal, but then like justifiably so, I was told that like, okay, tone it down. It's like,
Yeah,
okay.
the censors. We're the Hays Code over here sometimes.
I mean,
Yep.
admittedly, toning down her violence just fit the story more because like
Mm-hmm.
Getrick is meant to see her in a different light, and having her just be as brutal as she normally is, just like it wouldn't have made sense. with the point
So-
of the story. So
It's like the Punisher working with Spider-Man.
Yeah. Did you have a pretty similar approach, Nick, where you were kind of going back and forth, or were you sounded like you were more responsible for the editing with Marcel at least?
Yeah, definitely. He really put in the meat of the story, but I mean, we were workshopping the whole concept, so that mostly was our collective vision. He just really wrote out a lot of the scenes.
Hmm.
Same kind of with Indy. I wrote a lot of the Baron's Tale. I think the only thing that I left directly to Indy was the flashback scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have significant involvement with writing Chi directly?
No,
Okay.
I wrote the opening and then I added things in around it.
Okay.
I mean, we definitely talked about what was going to happen in the story. Naturally, it impacted the Baron's Tale.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to figure out how we're crediting those in the in everything,
Hmm.
in the trailers and print and whatnot. And then I guess this was originally something that would also really fit well with Brennan is uh, reusing old characters. Um, Gasgano showing back up and Carcer and of course Cathar with Captain Henson's side. Is there a is there a point where you feel like it's repetitive, or how do you know just in general, like this story is the right place for these familiar characters?
Yeah. Well, I'd say it's definitely a case by case. Gascano, his Outlander appearance,
Did he have an
supposed. I
Outlander
mean,
appearance? Oh, he did in the Potter's
yeah.
Tale, yeah. He
No,
wasn't at the Outlander
I
Club, but he
forgot
was
he was even
racing.
in that. Actually, no, he's in Elan Sleazebaggino's tale.
Oh,
Yeah, Elan sells spice to him.
huh.
Yeah,
Sure. I'll take your word
it's
for it. I read that one time,
yeah, no,
probably twice.
I basically described the two of them. It's more of an Easter egg cameo.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
might have mentioned it in a comment or something
maybe.
where he's not
Uh,
named.
yeah, no, I think Carcer Hermas calls him Gas once,
Hmm.
and there's the fact he's a Zexto, and that's
Yep.
basically all you have to go off of.
Well, every Zexto is Gasgano,
Yeah,
obviously. It's
yeah,
just like
we've
Ponda
found the
Bob.
proof of that. Oh Lord. Um, I mean, yeah, your Tog. If you're on Coruscant, your Tog is there. I
He's
think
the
that's
only law enforcement officer on all of Coruscant. He handles
it's
air traffic investigations, undercover operations, and just like ordinary police duties.
yeah, it's really come out that way. Uh, and I think that I've got a few more stories with him in mind.
Oh my God, is he gonna do something with Lumpawaru on Life Day? Is he gonna be so
That no, I don't think that that's going to be his place. I
Oh,
don't know
he's
if
gonna show up in Tales from the
yeah.
Yuzon Vong War, and he and Borsk Falia are gonna detonate the bomb
Yeah,
together.
he's one of the guys who's part. He was so excited that Bothan was finally elected to be the president of the new republic.
Yes.
Oh,
It must be an exciting time when when the guy in charge is the same species as you.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably doesn't happen often
Who else?
unless you're a human.
I would love to write more about Carcer Hermas.
Mm.
Mostly just being an OC character. I think that's you kind of have a relationship with the character. I'm sure Henson can relate.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really don't know if I've gotten one character yet. Maybe I just can't. Like the closest I've kind of got is Gand being in two stories that are pretty well spread out.
Yeah.
I gotta,
Well, now he's in 3.
if you count the, oh, okay. Oh, if you count Brennan's inclusion of
Yeah.
him. Yeah, sure. Yeah, but I didn't write that, so
Mhm.
yeah. I've only had, actually, never mind. I did. I was the one who went in for Brennan, because I kind of pounded the table for that. I was like, this would really work nicely if we could
Mhm.
replace Eth Koth with Gand.
And I
Because
think
I'm
that's
so bad at referencing other tales. I get
yeah.
my vision, and it's before anybody else has written anything, so I can't. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know how to reference it, and then I write it, and then it's too late to go back. I never change my stuff
I'm
significantly.
I'm a similar way. Plus, I'm just so hyper fixated on my own story, just making sure
Yeah,
it works.
yeah,
That like
Mhm.
as much as I would love to reference other people's works, it's hard for me to pay attention to what other people are doing, and then at the same time, just making
yeah.
sure my story is just good.
Yep. Yeah, you
So
got to plan it early, and that was kind of you got to be working at the same time as other people so that you can go back and forth for sure. And I guess I feel like I do a bad job of it, but I guess I did a lot with Anya Canavar. Um, and we'll see about Holiday Special.
just speaking on my reuse of characters, like with Cathar, it's pretty easy to keep using her. Introduction first story, character study for the second, third story, all that's already done. So now she can just be a presence.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So very easy trajectory there, and so easy to use. But I did bring Mahonic back for the Outlander Club story, just
oh yeah, I
because
forgot about that.
it made sense to do it with Cathar not being in the best headspace. So in that story, she
Because
contacts Mahonic,
it's
and he's going through his own
well,
shit.
wasn't Mahonic? Did we say Mahonic was at the Outlander Club? I don't remember.
No,
'Cause
well, there
there was like
was
there was a grand character whose name was
yeah.
like an anagram of Mahonic, and we were just kind of assuming that was Mahonic using a bad alias.
Mhm.
Not any worse than a Quarren named Renquar, but
Yeah. Yeah, there could have been, I mean, I had to speak on writing for someone else or just giving suggestions. I just love the idea that immediately after, now this didn't happen. Immediately after uh Anakin and Obi-Wan drag Zam Wizzle out, these two bounty hunters run in and they start chasing Ren Quar, but he's just way too fast. And then the other part being, and this is probably why I just really wanted it to happen, is Solvin Getrick, the
runs
pod
into
race
people.
obsessed guy
Oh,
he is, just sits down and starts watching the screen.
there we go.
Yeah,
I'd read that.
that was my initial pitch. Uh, what was I talking about just now?
Okay, Sebulba.
Yeah,
Nice.
I will also say this. I
Yep.
Yeah.
tried to think of a way to bring Mahonic back for my third story, and in one iteration of it, where Grietta was learning about Cathar, or the Huntress of Thor, through the HoloNet, she eventually learns that, this pod racer was seen with her like 10 years ago. Like, oh, okay. So then she talks to Mahonic, and then he's able to put her into contact
Sure.
with Cathar, but it just didn't
Kind
fit.
of a tedious scene.
Yeah,
It just
like I said.
passing on a message that doesn't really need to be in there.
I mean, it worked in the context of the story is about her learning about this other character. So, but again, just based off the trajectory of how the story was going, it just didn't fit.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, at this point, I'm not writing a story for the Life Day anthology because, one hand, burnt out to some degree, but also I just really want to focus on non-Star Wars
Oh, sure.
pieces of writing.
But you did have one future project in the Star Wars world, if I recall correctly, right?
Yes, well, I guess just to
If you
talk
it,
about.
I don't. Yeah. Do you wanna give maybe a 30-second teaser for the YouTube people?
So basically, I had this idea to reconcile the Clone Wars with the Old Wounds Visionaries short story and explain how the Darth Maul in both those don't make sense together. But you need Old Wounds because TCW exists. So Old Wounds is Darth Maul's endpoint in TCW. So that's what the basic idea is there, explaining how we get from Son of Dathomir to Old Wounds.
And your idea was for that to be a comic, which I don't think Re-Expanded has ever done, right?
Yes, yes. As I said, my girlfriend is an artist, and we're currently working on a comic right now just to learn the process there. But yes, that's the hope. However many issues it requires, but I wanted to do a big project for Re-Expanded, and I don't know if I want to write a 200 to 300 page novel. Be cool, but I don't know if I want to
It's fun once
spend
you've done it.
that much time on that. So
Yeah.
a comic, simple.
Sure.
Of course, there is a whole process of writing a comic script, but it's a big project that won't require too much writing time from me. Most of it will be
You make your girlfriend do all the work.
Yes.
And
she's fine with that.
And then speaking of future projects, Nick, you've got a lot, as always, on your plate.
Yes. What happens next? We have Tales on Life Day.
And maybe another. Actually, the audience probably knows more than we do.
Yes. There's been a
By the
vote.
time this comes out, we're recording this in mid-March here. We're only a few days, or we're about a week into the release. Exactly a week into the release of Opera House. So at this point, we don't know, but we've probably announced it. If you you scroll through our channel, you'll probably see something that we post.
It's just easier to write short stories, and we can always get people to do those,
Yep.
But eventually we'll get some full-length novels, I think.
Let me ask this: how many finished novels are there?
Hot 45's got what, 20?
Yeah, I'd say.
I
those
wrote
are
the
just
Siege.
carryovers, right?
Those
were already a thing, but they were just brought into.
Oh yeah. I think
it's a
that's
mix.
everything
kind of.
except for.
He
I mean, would
joined
you count the Siege?
Re-Expanded. Yeah. So if you want to go through the list of the Re-Expanded timeline here.
Yeah.
Our earliest story is the 3 Despot books, which were all written after Hot 45 joined the project. So he did make some references to some of our stuff. Or he made one reference, I know, to something that Cryptix is going to do. Days of Dissidence, there's 8 of those.
I think there's 5 novels. Some of those are short stories. Yeah.
Those we borrowed from those already existed before us. Dark Days is definitely a re-expanded project.
Yeah,
Or
well,
no,
the rest of it, we actually recruited
Mortis was about
Mortis
halfway
after.
through when she
I
joined.
think it was finished. I think
Oh,
Zenith was done.
but anyway, she's definitely
Yeah.
been a part of it for writing all of Dark Days 2.
Hmm.
Darth Vectivus, no. Game of
Game of
Deceit,
Deceit. No.
uh, no. Besieged was about 3/4 done when I joined.
Mm.
Uh, Containment Survival. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of novels on our thing. It's probably what, like 30
Oh
total?
wait, there's cells.
But yeah, it's you can't just count the rows because
Yeah. Summer short
and then Empire of
stories.
Ashes is a pretty re-expanded specific story.
Yeah, yeah. I'd say a lot of it was sort of changed
Yeah.
after being written. Not a lot of it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, because it includes references to the other fanfics
Hmm.
and some
It might
pretty
have been the
smart
first
stuff.
at the time to do so too.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, are you planning on any projects outside of Tales that you're doing personally? Oh yeah.
Well,
You have
you
one, but
know,
you're probably not talking about it much.
you know, I can soft announce. Uh, Basically, I proctored the bar exam, and I spent 12 hours staring at all of these prospective lawyers, thinking to myself, what should I do to outline a novel? So, as of now, it's called Song of the Sand, and it is sort of to exist as a tie-up of all of the Tatooine plot lines. It's to exist in the uh, golden era of the New Republic when they weren't at war with anybody. Um,
Wow, that's a pretty
yeah,
narrow window.
yeah. So, what was the other part of that?
Tatooine.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
it's gonna be on Tatooine.
Luke
Uh,
Skywalker's there.
yeah,
There's what
Son of Sons.
is gonna get
Actually, is that
referenced? Yeah,
Father of Sons? That's what it was.
Father. Yep.
Um, I had actually started writing with this in mind.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's a long time coming.
Hmm.
The Tales anthologies do keep on giving. Um, ooh, and that's a little pun for Life Day, giving. Anyway, I think I think that's a good note to end on, unless either of you have closing thoughts. Henson, you've got a YouTube channel people can check out your stuff, you said?
Yes, I haven't uploaded a video in a while, but if anyone is curious to see what my EU collection is comprised of and how much of it I have not touched, you
There
can
we go.
check that out.
What's the name of the channel?
Just Captain Henson.
Oh, there we go. Easy enough. And most of Nick's stuff I think is on here or on our re-expanded Discord always. So I think we've gone a good almost 100 minutes. So probably time to let everybody go. Uh, have a have a good one to all of our viewers, and we will see you around. Stay tuned for the release of the remaining Tales from the Galaxies Opera House.